Technologic, Technologic, Technologic.
Hello and welcome to another edition of our tech series where we go over our technical process here at YEO. One of the processes that we feel is very, very crucial to the running of any project and stuff that probably gets overseen a little bit. So we're going to tell you a little bit more about it, how we go about our technical process and our model work, and the reasons why we do that. And today I am here with Rob, who is our staircase wizard, project manager, operations guy, all-round total legend, and he is going to talk you through the model work on this staircase, which is our twisted staircase, my favourite bit of design that we've done. We're going to site with it now. Rob, thank you. Let's start with what are the key considerations here when you're drawing a staircase or you're doing the first model work for something like this? Where do you start, and what are the first things you think about?
I mean, with this staircase and with most staircases, I always start with the site architecture and the structural items that are part of that. So with this particular staircase, I had the architect's drawings plans, so I created a 3D model of the space that the staircase, is designed to occupy, and also then modelled in any structural items that would be on site for us to fix the staircase to. So I always start there, and in this instance, you can see the structural items are shown in yellow. And then what I do is I start, I look at the concept that we've created and start to work out how the concept can tie in, with the site structural items. And that's the first thing.
Can I just chime in there with a little bit of information on the design of this staircase? So this is what we're calling our twisted staircase, which is made up of 8mm hot rolled steel balustrade. We've got white ash tread boxes, and the balustrade goes up to a half landing and then twists back over itself up onto a top landing, and then right the way across and around that top landing. Quite challenging. 8mm steel. There's probably between around 1.5 tons of steel in this, Rob.
Yeah, ish. Yeah.
Something around there, which in itself is quite daunting. But Rob will show us and tell us about how we've gone about managing that. Rob, if we can probably start with what were the key structural considerations?
So obviously Adam has highlighted weight was one of the key issues that we had to kind of really consider early on. And we decided fairly early that we needed to engage a structural engineer because of the weights and the loads that were involved, to figure out, what sort of fixings and what sort of loadings things would be under.
What's going to hold it up there, Rob, as well, isn't it? Because when we made a little sample, which we'll try and add into this video, and it wasn't until then that we actually grasped the fact that how heavy this thing was going to be.
Yeah, exactly. So very early on, we came up with, I came up with an initial 3D model that highlighted the key structural considerations, and I put in what I felt were the ways that we would go about, securing this to the structural work on site. Gave that to the structural engineer, and they provided feedback on basically whether the design that we had come up with was satisfactory, was strong enough for what it needed to be. One thing that was highlighted very early is this upper section here originally was intended to be cantilever, so just hung off the wall on the side of it. But the structural engineer made us aware that the construction of that wall was not strong enough, not sufficient to support that section of the staircase on its own. So what we then decided was, because the steelwork itself was obviously incredibly heavy, but also incredibly strong because it being made out of 8mm steel plate, we would use that steel spine as a means of reinforcing that upper section. So what we then had to do was consider how we would secure this, the steel spine to make it structurally integral. And that's why you can see in the 3D model, there are various methods that we've used to tie this site steelwork to the stuff that we've had fabricated.
So that diagonal there, Rob,
Yes.
the diagonal steel in yellow was something that the structural engineer added on
Correct,
for us to then, so that there at the minute is welded and fixed in place to the site structural steelwork as an add-on.
Yes.
And then that tab on top of that, which effectively acts as a hook for when we're fitting, a structural hook for when that there is welded to the back of the balustrade.
It is,
right?
yes. Yeah. Exactly right. So, we've made it so everything that we're taking to site can be kind of hooked or positioned around the structural items that are already fitted. And we've done it in a way where we can take the steel plates to site in component form. So we're taking certain plates already pre-welded but broken up into sections so we can actually feasibly move them and get them into position. And that allows us to, essentially it makes the install feasible. And by breaking it up...
What will be the install... let me start again. What will be the install process of this one, Rob?
So we're going to start with the landing components. We'll start with these landing plates. They will go in first, and they will then tie into the main staircase components. The reason for starting with the landing plates is because of their size and their bulk. We want to get the heaviest components in first, and the heaviest plate of all is this one here. So we want to get that one in first, so then if we have any issues around the positioning of it, we can locate all the other plates to it. We've got tolerance in all of this design that if everything shifts slightly, it still works, which we felt was really important when working with such heavy and large components, was to have that tolerance. So by positioning this plate first, which is the heaviest, and obviously it can be fitted in its own right because it's hung on this steel, it then means that we can fit away from it more easily.
Also, Rob, we won't have anything below it then. We wouldn't want that bottom section of stair in place trying to fit that top piece. Yeah,
so it's important that the components can be fitted in their own right, as Adam has said, so we've got good access to the heaviest components. Once that top landing plate is in, we have to fit the lower section to then provide the support for the rest of the steelwork. But at that point, you don't need the access to the rest of it.
Nice, mate. And that top balustrade across the top floor, how are we proposing to fix that structurally through the steelwork?
Yeah, so we have these metal plates here all the way along that are independent. They're just individual plates. They will get fitted to the site steelwork first, and you can see that here. They'll be bolted through the main I-beams using a template to ensure they go in exactly the right positions.
Mm-hmm.
So when we come to fit the heavy plates, we're not having to try and fit them through something on site. We've already fitted the plate and they will just locate onto them, which is much easier than trying to position them through the site work, the site structural items.
Yeah.
So basically these plates will be hung off these brackets which would already have been fitted.
Nice.
And they'll be just simply be pushed through the holes and bolted in from above and below.
And can you show what the finished ceiling and floor detail is going to be there, Rob?
I can, yes.
Sorry if I've put you on the spot. Lovely, look, as easy as that. So
yeah,
because we've got this 8mm steel, we wanted to create 8mm shadow gaps.
So you have that detail here, shadow gap between the ceiling and the steel plate, and that runs all the way around.
Yeah,
so that runs along this edge, above. And it's... Sorry, yep, and then you've got it also above here. See?
Yeah, lovely, mate. And that continues right down the staircase.
It does. So if you follow that detail here, it runs all the way around the landing.
Lovely. Rob, can you show... can we have a look at how we make up our tread boxes and how our little internal collar works?
Yes, so the tread boxes themselves are being made from solid ash flooring, the same as the flooring that's being used in the rest of the house or the rest of that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And those tread boxes are being made by flooring being mited to form this kind of overall tread cover, and then having a bottom piece that slots up in afterwards to cover obviously all the internal structural steelwork.
And Rob, we've got a little bit of tolerance there on the steelwork for packing.
We do, yeah. So we've allowed, I think it's 5 mil between the underside of the tread and the steel plate to allow packing. There's a chance that steel plate under load is kind of is dropped or is slightly, it's not perfectly flat. So that just gives us the ability to pack the actual tread completely level.
Yeah, and that's why we put that access panel in below and we don't miter the full box.
Exactly. So we've got access to pack and also get a mechanical fixing into the tread itself. And it also means that if there's ever any issues, there's any damage to the staircase, you still have the ability to access the fixings and remove that tread box to service
and it makes the fitting easier, Rob.
Certainly does. It means you don't have to fit those tread boxes before you fit the main steel spine. You can imagine without the access underneath, you'd have to slide these boxes over and then have to fit the steelwork.
Yeah.
And for me, we wanted to fit all the structural items without the final dress components in place, which is what you can see here. So you can see that all the structural components are in, and then you're essentially dressing that staircase afterwards. Yeah. Which, moving heavy components like that around with finished ash treads was not really an option.
And we're creating that shadow gap going down those top tread boxes, which are the open tread boxes. Can you show that little collar that we're going to make so that we're not scribing anything to the wall? We're going to just slide that collar back and then dress the stair.
Yeah, so looking down on the plan, you can see that there's this separate component that will be put onto the steelwork first, slid over, and then the tread box will get fitted afterwards, and then that collar will get pushed tight against the wall finish. And as Adam has said, it means you don't have to scribe these tread boxes tight to the site wall. So both sides, you've got this collar that allows you to get that detail really nice and clean without having to do any scribe work.
Yeah, lovely.
And that's the same all the way around.
I love that.
See everywhere here. And that allows us to prefabricate all of the main tread components in the workshop and not have to do any site cuts, which again is always preferable.
Lovely, Rob. Something else I'd like to look at, if we can, is how the top balustrade, how that fixes onto the mid landing.
Yep.
So there's a custom bracket.
So
right?
on all of these steel plates, there are various additional plates and components that have been added to provide the support onto the surrounding either site structure or stuff that we're fitting. So you can see here you've got these small metal plates that will be used to kind of hook that plate onto the that lower chassis, and you have the same here. So you've got this large plate in the middle here that is providing all of the structural integrity onto that mid landing. So we have fitted a timber mid landing, which this plate will sit on top of and bolt into as well, which I can show you here. So again, we've got fixings down and also bolting through the face of this landing, which completely secures this section into the mid landing.
Is that bracket then welded to that piece? Is it?
This bracket is welded.
Yeah, to that one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
Absolutely right.
Nice, mate. While you've got that there, just talk us through the makeup of that bottom chassis, which is obviously not a traditional style sort of makeup of a staircase, but...
No. So because the structural items aren't actually the staircase itself, the structural item is the metal stringer and the wall next to it. What we do, and the mid landing at the top, in the middle, what we do is we prefabricate, a chassis that just secures to all of that surrounding structure on site, rather than the actual staircase treads, risers and stringers being structural. It's a lot quicker for us to fabricate this in the workshop. We can CNC cut these kind of rib components, and it's a really quick process. And on site, we just fix it to the mid landing, we fix it to the floor through this large bottom tread box. And as a process, it's much nicer than having to fix structural components from the staircase to the site surroundings. And it's just a much quicker process. And as I've said again, it means you can fix all the structural work first and you just dress it all later with your final, finished flooring components, rather than having to fit the treads and risers to form the structure.
Yeah.
It just minimizes the chance of damage as you're fitting.
Nice, mate. As with any 3D model work, there's always challenges. What were the biggest challenges on this one, mate?
I think the biggest challenge for me was taking the concept, which was quite unique, using this large steel spine as a structural item, and actually working out how to make that work. How do you take something incredibly large and heavy, and obviously quite a unique shape, and integrate that with the site architecture in a way where it's legal, it's safe, it's functional, while still maintaining, obviously the look of it.
I think with anything, Rob, that's designed, especially a staircase, there's always an element of, once it goes into the technical side of things might have to be tweaked here and there, especially on a staircase when you've got legalities like handrail heights, head height positions, especially with this bit that comes over that's twisted, and designers being designers don't always take those things into consideration. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
I think it's making it make it, boy.
Yeah, I mean that is the biggest challenge for us as technical designers, is taking a concept and incorporating all of those other factors to make it, do everything it needs to, whilst not losing the essence of the design in the first place. That's probably the hardest part, is not compromising the design too much, because it typically is always a degree of compromise. But because this staircase is actually, visually it's very, very, very close to the original concept, and I think that just shows that the design was well considered. And we've been able to integrate it as we hoped we would.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. Lovely. Proper work, mate. Lovely stuff. This staircase is currently in manufacture. Will be fit within a month, 6 weeks. Can't wait to see it go in. Thank you very, very much for watching. We'll be back with more at some point. Rob, thank you very much for your efforts. Top work, mate. And we'll see you all again. Thank you.
Brilliant. Cheers.
Technologic.